Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on Nta News24. We're live in Abuja. I am Dennis Adegunloye. We'll begin with the headlines. Governor Aiyedatiwa commends President Tinubu for level playing field in Ondo election.
For them to have dividend of democracy.
NNPC dispels malicious attacks, says Old Port Harcourt refinery is currently operating at 70% capacity. Central Bank of Nigeria commits to addressing cash crunch, promises sanctions on banks and agents who hoard cash. Federal government promises to sustain all year-round farming to address food insecurity. Let's begin at the National Assembly. The Senate has commended the Nigerian military for its gallantry in combating terrorism, citing last Sunday's repelling and elimination of Boko Haram insurgents who came in their hundreds to carry out an attack in Kukawa local government area of Borno State. This commendation came just as the Red Chamber received President Tinubu's request for the confirmation of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Lufemi Oluyede. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The Senate to commend the gallantry of our soldiers and pray that God will keep them safe as they strive to keep Nigeria one and stop the insurgents who are trying to divide the country. May Almighty Allah bless them and keep them while fighting for our cause.
The prayers from the Senate President was in reaction to the matter of privilege raised by the Senate Chief Whip, acknowledging the gallantry of the security personnel following their swift reaction to a security breach in northern Borno.
As a result of the gallantry, zeal, determination and patriotism exhibited by the Nigerian military, they were able to not only repel the attack on that local government, they succeeded in neutralizing half of those Boko Haram that came fully armed, determined to take over that local government.
The Senate thereafter mandated the Committee on Army to immediately screen the acting Chief of Army Staff to pave way for his confirmation. Senate has passed for second reading bill to establish Federal University of Agriculture in Kura, Kano State, and bill seeking the inclusion of 20% of cassava by producers of edible flour.
The use of cassava in wheat can significantly reduce the cost of importation of wheat, which presently stands at over $3 billion.
We can cultivate wheat in the northern part of the country and some other areas, but not like cassava. Cassava is everywhere. It's in a national interest. Look, this is good for us.
If we pass a law, say that cassava flour must be included in flour production, who will implement it?
Meanwhile, Senate has corrected its error of citing Section 147 regarding the removal of the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
This resolution affects only the correction of the wrong constitutional citation. Senate resolved to seek the concurrence of the House of Representatives to this resolution in accordance with paragraph 17.3 of Part 1 in the 5th schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Away from plenary, a delegation of the Vice Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress of China was hosted by the leadership of the Senate towards consolidating existing relationship.
Assist us to ensure that the Chinese government keeps its pledge to Africa during the 2024 forecast to increase its inflow and aid in other aspects to Africa and Nigeria in particular.
China sincerely hopes Nigeria will achieve greater progress on the path of development and reform.
The Senate President last week hosted the newly appointed Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Yu Dunhai. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, Nta News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has requested the House of Representatives to confirm the appointment of Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede as Chief of Army Staff of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Lieutenant General Oluyede has been serving in an acting capacity since his appointment. President Tinubu, in a letter read on the floor of the House by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, says the acting Chief of Army Staff has displayed exceptional leadership, professional and unwavering commitment to the security and continued stability of the nation and the progress of the armed forces.
And contributions to the Nigerian Army and the nation at large makes him well suited for this very important role. While I'm confident that the House of Representatives will consider and confirm the nominee, please accept, Right Honorable Speaker, the assurances of my highest consideration.
Adopting a motion of urgent public importance, the House has urged the federal government to secure the electricity transmission towers in Rivers and Bayelsa states, as well as others under threats of vandalism in parts of the country.
East local government area of Rivers State from Woodlawn went and vandalized a section of the line. Mr. Speaker, the House is disturbed that by this development, the whole of the residents of Bayelsa State still subsist for 1 or 2 days. Because as we speak, the people of the state are in total blackout. All the federal government through the Ministry of Interior to urgently provide adequate security for these transmission towers across the country to avoid future occurrence of vandalism.
The House referred the matter to its Committee on Interior for further legislative action. The Office of the National Security Advisor and the British High Commission have commenced the evaluation of institutional practices to foster justice and the review of civilian protection during security operations. The NSA declared open the 2-day review in Abuja, tagged Security and Justice Symposium. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has the details.
It's a convergence of security, judicial, human rights organization and civil society at the Security and Justice Symposium organized by the National Counterterrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor. The platform seeks to ensure accountability mechanism for civilians harmed by state or non-state actors and promote enhanced working relations between security agencies and the civilians.
Let us keep in mind the noble goals set before us, from analyzing and strengthening the intricate relationship between military operations and law enforcement, to enhancing the protection of civilians and fostering a culture of justice and accountability.
This symposium today is a continuation of a dialogue that we've already started, a security and defence partnership that was first initiated some years ago but was renewed under the National Security Advisor's leadership. That we all face really complex security challenges in many parts of the world, certainly in West Africa region and even in Nigeria itself. And these complex challenges require a multifaceted approach.
To the Chief of Defence Staff, good governance is critical in addressing most of the nation's security challenges.
There will not be peace if there is no fairness, equity and justice. Nigeria is going through so many challenges, and we feel if we're able to address this and everybody has a sense of belonging, a lot of the security challenges we are having, we are sure it will go down.
The symposium is organized by the Office of the National Security Advisor in collaboration with the British High Commission. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, Nta News.
The Nigerian Television Authority has advised against a merger of government media organizations under the restructuring plans of the federal government. Director General of the NTA, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, presented the NTA's position before the House of Representatives Committee on Restructuring of Federal Government Agencies, which commended the public broadcaster for promoting national unity. National Assembly correspondent Amina Saidu reports.
The committee's focus is on evaluating functions, restructuring, and looking at the potentials of merging several parastatals into more unified bodies.
It's the implementation of our policies. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm hearing your own commission, even though I'm a member here. I participated, but in terms of activity, I'm seeing it for the first time. I don't know their impact. And that's why you have to convince us that nobody can wake up just one day and say scrap marched without following the due process of the law, amending, enacting, and what have you. That's the essence of we have to listen to every agency that adhere, make submission, then the committee will sit down, put a report, look at the laws, amend, enact where necessary, then push forward for necessary action to be taken.
Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Nta Abdulhamid Dambos, gave an insight on the implications of the proposed merger of media organizations.
The orientation is quite different because television is about what you see and also what you hear. And the orientation has been from inception that the two organizations are quite different. Nta has always been a standalone organization. So I'm of the view, and of course the management is of the view that there is still need for us to stand alone so that we can remain focused and also deliver.
Also in attendance were representatives from Ministry of Water Resources, the National Senior Secondary School Education Commission, the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, the Center for Management Development, and the National Productivity Center, among other bodies. The committee plans to continue engaging relevant stakeholders with necessary steps taken to ensure that restructuring efforts align with broader government objectives for enhanced service delivery. From the National Assembly, Amina Saidu, Nta News.
The Central Bank of Nigeria says it won't hesitate to sanction banks and agents hoarding cash, as it remains committed to addressing the cash crunch witnessed across the country. At the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso said the committee voted to raise the monetary policy rate by 25 basis points to 27.50% to further tackle inflation.
With inflation continuing to erode purchasing power and undermine economic growth, the Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee is meeting for the 298th time to tackle inflation, which has persisted at 33.88% in October. In considering recent economic and financial developments, the committee noted that cost of petrol has continued to have a negative impact on cost of production, urging monetary and fiscal authorities to deepen collaboration to achieve price stability.
With respect to cash specifically, we're ensuring that all the deposit money banks are getting all the cash that they require. We're ensuring that is happening. We're having regular dialogue between the central bank branches and the cash money center banks all over the place to ensure that that also is happening.
Concerned about persistent exchange rate pressure, the Apex Bank urged deposit money banks to explore measures to boost market liquidity as they focus on stabilizing the foreign exchange market.
We are doing what we can within the limits of market, and in particular the foreign exchange market. And by that I refer to the fact that we appreciate that many times some distortionary elements come into a market, and that is why we as regulators, that's what we are there for. So we're on top of the game.
The committee retains cash reserve ratio at 50% for deposit money banks and 16% for merchant banks, liquidity ratio at 30%, and asymmetric corridor at plus 500 and minus 100 basis points around the MPR. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar.
This is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. More reports after this break. Stay with us.